Okay. Dear brother and sister in the Dhamma, can you hear my voice? Can. Okay. Welcome to today's online Dhamma session. The Dhammapada verses share deep lesson for the living in peace and with meaning. Today, we are blessed to have Bhante Pemaratana, who will guide us through the selected verses and show how this teaching can bring the clarity, balance, and joy to our daily life. So now, let us welcome Bhante Pemaratana.
Very much, Sister Natasha, and thank you very much for Mahakaruna Buddhist Society for this invitation. I'm so glad to see you all after some time. And so we are going to study the very important text, Dhammapada, where we find the collection of verses or gathas given by the Buddha in different occasions. So these verses are carry like hidden gems, the very important teachings of the Buddha. So we will explore each verse in next few weeks. So I'm so glad that you all decided to join this class and and have a discussion about these important verses. So before we start, I would like to uh, sister, I would like to share my screen. So you may share. So please also invite everyone to unmute themselves. Sorry, mute themselves. Yes. So let us start with our veneration to the Buddha. So let us put our palms together with deep gratitude for wonderful teachings given to us. We will recite salutation to the Buddha 3 times. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. For those who are still new to the Dhammapada text, I will give you a brief introduction to the text. Dhammapada is within the Nikayas. We know that the Buddha's discourses was organized into different sections. We call them Nikaya. So we have long discourses in the section called Diga Nikaya, and then we have middle length discourses in the section called Majjhima Nikaya, and then we also have smaller, shorter discourses around different topics. That collection is called Samyutta Nikaya, and then we also have collections of numerical sayings of the Buddha, and that is in Anguttara Nikaya. And then there's a miscellaneous collection where we find a small text, different small texts, put them together, and we call it Khuddaka Nikaya. And so in this miscellaneous collection, there are a number of individual texts, and one of those texts is the Dhammapada. And even at the time of the Buddha, many monks, nuns, and lay people memorized some important key teachings of the Buddha. And usually, it will be easier for us to memorize when you put it into a poetic form. So the most of the time when Buddha give a sermon, a discourse, at the end, he will most often he will give us a verse. He will summarize the whole teaching and present it as a verse, as a gatha, because it is easier for us, for people to remember a gatha when something is said in a poetic way. I think even you may remember when you are studying, and in order to remember, some important formulas or important facts, maybe historical facts, you try to, create into a poem. So that's what happened at the time of the Buddha. So people memorized, even at the time of the Buddha, different verses that carry the essential teachings of the Buddha. So Dhammapada was such collection of verses. So even at the time of the Buddha, these collection of Dhammapada started these verses were started to collect, and even at the time of the Buddha, and there were such a collection of important verses of the Buddha, which we call Dhammapada, and of course after the Buddha's passing away in the first great council, when the early disciples of the Buddha put his teachings together, and they put this already existing collection of verses in the section called Kuddaka Nikaya. So what we are reading, what we are learning is actually very important sayings of the Buddha, and these sayings have been, memorized even at the time of the Buddha by disciples, and even after that, many centuries throughout the history of the Buddhism, many people have memorized these verses. Many people have used these verses as an inspiration, as a device to remember and practice and then understand the teachings of the Buddha. So we are going to learn that text, but only selected verses. Okay, so let me now start and share the lesson with you. Life lessons from the Dhammapada. So we are going to focus on verse 33. And this verse is found in the section called Mind section, or Cittavagga. So this is the verse. I will chant that verse first, and then we can study it later. Pandanang chapalang chittang durakkang dunnivarayang ujung karoti medhavi usukaro
Em may đọc trụy, trụy.
tejanang. That is how it sounds in Pali. Pandanang chapalang chittang durakkang dunnivarayang ujung karoti medhavi usukarova tejanam. And this is the original verse, and this is the translation in English. Mind is fickle, unsteady, difficult to guard, difficult to control. Yet the wise person straightens it as a fletcher straightens an arrow or arrow shaft. So this verse explains the ordinary nature of mind. I think we are all familiar with that ordinary nature of the mind because most of us are ordinary people. And so we have, normally anyone will have a mind that is fickle, unsteady, difficult to guard, difficult to control. So uncontrolled mind and the mind that has no specific aim. The mind is not staying in one place and keep moving from different things. And that's the nature of the mind. But I think this verse is saying that although that is the ordinary nature of the mind, it is possible for us to train this mind. It is possible for us to gradually train and sharpen this mind. The important simile given here is how an arrow is made through using a normal stick, a wooden stick, if it is a wooden arrow, or maybe a piece of metal, or even sometime so the tejanang is the term for arrow. Sometimes it's say not arrow, the arrow shaft. Even the arrow shaft on the top of the arrow, it is something that someone has to make effort to make. And that arrow shaft particularly is very important to maintain the balance, of the arrow in allowing it to go through the wind. So there is a process how one will make an arrow. Arrow is not something you can find in nature. You have to gradually make effort to make an arrow. So any skillful fletcher, a skillful fletcher will be able to make an arrow using whatever available materials. So the Buddha has given that simile. What we had to do with our mind is also something like that. Normally our mind will be untrained, untamed, and it's not fit for any good thing. But then, although it is, it is difficult to guard, but we can gradually develop it. So that's the key message here. So I will let me give you some teachings on the Pali words here. I think the word chitta is a very important term. I know you may have heard it before. Chitta is the term, the Pali term that means mind. There are a number of Pali terms that refer to the mental process, but chitta is one very common term. When there are other terms like mano or vijnana, and different processes of the mind is explained by these different terms. But when you say chitta, chitta is the most comprehensive term to refer to all the functions of the mind, including emotional states. For example, when you say mano, it only refers to cognitive function of the mind. But when you say chitta, it encompasses all mental processes, including the emotional processes. So chitta is the term for mind. So here we find term chitta. And here there's a term called durakkang, but I just say durakkang is the opposite of rakkang. Rakkang is a term for guard and protection. I think, you may remember when monks tie blessing strings on your wrist, and we usually chant a verse. There are few common verses we will chant as a blessing verses. But the one verse has this term rakkang. When you say sabbe buddha balapatta pache kanancha yang balang arahantanancha tejena rakkang bandami sabbaso. So we chant the rakkang bandami sabbaso. So we say that when we tie blessing strings on you. Next time when the monks tie the blessing strings, look for this here. Look for this word rakkang. And we say they will chant rakkang bandami sabbaso. So that means they tie this blessing string as a protection for you, as a guard for you. So the monks will chant that by the power of the great compassion of the Buddha, by the power of all the great arahants, and may you have a protection. I tie this string as a protection and as a guard for you. So that's the meaning of term rakkang. And you will hear that word often. But here in this verse, we have a different term, which is durakkang. That means difficult to guard. Difficult to guard. That is the nature of the mind. So rakkang is the guard, and here, but when you say durakkang, it means difficult to guard, difficult to protect or restrain. And then we also have another important term called medhavi. That means the wise person. Medha is also a term for wisdom. So when you say medhavi, that means a person who has the wisdom. So medhavi is the wise person. So what Buddha is saying that although the mind generally is moving all over the place and very difficult to protect, but it is not impossible to train it. It is possible to train it, but a wise person can tame it and train it. So that's the topic today, how we can do it. But in order for us to understand the ordinary nature of the mind, this particular verse uses these terms like fickle, unsteady. That means keep moving from one thing to another and never resting. That sounds very familiar to us, right? And then that's how our mind never resting, moving from one topic to other, one topic to other, one topic to other, one thing to the other, one thing to other, and keep moving and shifting, and doesn't stay long enough as for important thing, and we just simply moving from one thing to the other without really dealing enough with anything, and we quickly move to another thing, very distracted, unsteady. Sometimes we think too much on negative things, but most of the other times we just keep moving from one thing to the other without any resting. And so interesting simile given by the Buddha again in a different place called Samyutta Nikaya, and another discourse. We find this term monkey mind. I think we are all familiar with that term, right? The monkey mind. The how Buddha has explained is that just as a monkey singing through a forest wilderness grabs a branch, letting go of it, it grabs another branch. Letting go of that, it grabs another one. In the same way, what is called the mind, intellect, and or consciousness, by day and by night arises as one thing and ceases as another. So in this word, it shows the, impermanent nature of the mind, how it's really keeps changing and shifting all the time. But the simile of a monkey is given here, how monkey keeps moving from one branch to another without, resting. And even when monkeys are moving from one branch to another, they just simply move without any direction, any kind of destination. They simply playfully, move from one branch to another. That's an interesting simile, like for us to understand our own mind. When you think about, throughout the day, how many things we might have thought about, how many topics we might have indulged in our mind, and we keep thinking about so many things. But when you reflect the day, the kind of things, the kind of topics, kind of issues that we have been thinking about, and only few things are important things. Only few issues are really important things to our life. Most of the other things are simply not that important. Sometimes the things that has already happened, and sometimes they are things that not yet happen, but we worry that they will happen. So although we use our mental energy to think about them, to contemplate on them, and we are just doing it without any plan, without any clear direction. We just these things occur in our mind. We simply keep thinking and contemplating. So it's exactly how a monkey would simply move from one branch to other, one branch to other, without actually, it's not, the monkey is not making a journey. It's simply moving from one branch to other without any clear sense of direction. And that is exactly the way our mind generally operates. So it's very important for us to understand that, and to just be aware. This is how our mind works. Not only our own mind, but also the minds of everyone else. So having this understanding is very important. And so its mind constantly move between thoughts, and not only thoughts but also feelings. We also have impulses, like impulses and also tendencies, and never resting in one place. And at the same time, not only it's moved from one thing to the other, but it also can be very emotional and agitated. And just like a monkey, it is prone to erratic movements. Like suddenly we will get angry, suddenly we get emotional, suddenly we will fire up, and just that kind of nature. And then it sometimes is unpredictable, right? The rapidly moving from one emotional state to another emotional state. But So the issue is that, this is ordinary nature of the mind, and that is how our brain and our neural system is working. The point is that, such a mind does not necessarily bring peace and happiness to us. This is the point here. And, maybe, so although our ordinary mind is, everyone, most of us, vast majority of the people, and their minds are like this, but such a mind does not bring us peace and happiness. It usually brings us, tension, disappointments, pain. So that is why we need to understand it and then try to do something about it. So then we have to ask how we can tame this monkey mind. So I think as this is the whole goal of Buddha's teaching, right? And the whole goal of the Buddha's teaching is to help us to train this mind and use our mental capacities, because our mind, in addition to being, fickle, unsteady, but it also has a deeper potential of calmness. We have the potential for samadhi, calm. We also have the potential for deep wisdom, and we also have the potential for, other psychic powers. We also have a deep potential for loving kindness and compassion. So while this, ordinary nature is this frickle and then and unsteady, but at the same time, it carries such wonderful potentials inside. So the goal of Buddhist practice is to actually train our mind and then weaken our unhealthy habits and then develop our wholesome potentials. But it has to be gradual. So when you think about an arrow maker, how an arrow maker straighten an arrow, how an arrow maker make an arrow shaft, and how much effort that person has to make, and how much patience that person has to have, and how many techniques that person has to use for that. And it has to be done in gradual manner. And that is the image that Buddha has given us, and how we have to have patience, gradual training, and using different techniques to straighten our mind. So I think now the question is, what are the techniques we can use for this? But before that, I would like to give you the background story of this verse. The background story of this verse is actually a story of the monk called Meghi. The Buddha gave, according to the commentaries of the Dhammapada, the Buddha uttered this poem, this gatha, after an interesting incident. And some interesting incident happened between Venerable Meghi and the Buddha. Venerable Meghi used to be a personal attendant to the Buddha. Before Venerable Anand became a more permanent attendant to the Buddha, there were, and in earlier periods, there were few monks who were attendants of the Buddha for a particular period of time. So Venerable Meghi was such an attendant, and both Buddha and Venerable Meghi was traveling through the mountains and traveling through the villages, and they went to a particular area called Jantugama, the village of Jantu. And on that day, Venerable Meghi let the Buddha rest, and then he went for alms around. He went to collect food for the Buddha and himself. So when he was traveling to collect alms, he came across with a nice, beautiful place. It is a mango grove, and next to a river, a small river. And that place was so appealing to this monk, and he thought that, wow, this beautiful mango grove with this nice river flowing next to it will be the perfect place for meditation. Therefore, he thought that when I go back to the Buddha, I will, give him this food, and then I will get the permission from the Buddha to meditate. So, and then he went back to the Buddha, and then he explained what he saw, and he asked the permission from the Buddha to go and meditate in that mango grove and kind of leave the Buddha, because Buddha was making a journey to go to another place to give his teachings and train disciples. But this Venerable Meiji found very interested to meditate in this beautiful mango grove. And then, and Buddha, when he asked permission to leave the Buddha, then Buddha said that, if you leave me, I'll be alone. Can you wait? Can you travel with me until I meet another monk? That's the request. But Venerable Meiji was so insistent, and he disregarded Buddha's concern, and again he asked, and actually he said that as the enlightened one, as the Buddha, you already have eradicated your suffering. You already have crossed the ocean of samsara. But I am still a trainer, I haven't done that. So I really have to, do this. And he asks again. Again, he asked permission to leave the Buddha. And Buddha again asked him to stay for a while until he meets another monk. But then Venerable Meiji was really, obsessed with this mango grove, and he asked for the third time, and saying that, I haven't enlightened it, I haven't, irrigated my defilements, I really need to practice. Can you give me the permission to leave you? And when he requested for the third time, Buddha said that, you are asking to go and meditate, how can I deny that? And just do whatever you think it is fitting to do. So Venerable Meiji left the Buddha. Buddha had to walk by himself to the place where he was planned to go. And Venerable Meiji led the Buddha and came to this beautiful mango grove, and he thought that this will be the most conducive place to meditate. So he sat down under a beautiful, nice mango tree, and he started to meditate. But what happened was actually, although the environment was so appropriate and so fitting for meditation, but as soon as he sit down and start to meditate, he cannot focus his mind. His mind is having all kind of lustful thoughts, and then he got angry about himself, then he has angry thoughts, and then he got angry with any subtle things happening around him. So, and his mind was full of unwholesome thoughts, and all these thoughts overwhelmed him, and he cannot even focus his mind for a short time, and it was so disturbing. He tried and tried and tried, and he tried throughout the day, but he could not meditate well. And what happened at the end of the day, he actually left this mango grove and then looked for the Buddha, traveled the same road looking for the Buddha. And then in the evening, he met the Buddha and explained to the Buddha, when the Buddha, I try my best, but I could not meditate at all. My mind was, going like that. So according to the commentary, in that occasion, Buddha uttered this verse. We are just studying. The mind is fickle, mind is unsteady, it's difficult to guard, difficult to protect, but the wise person straightens it, just like an arrow maker straightens an arrow. A fletcher would straighten an arrow. But in the sutta itself, we find interesting instruction given by the Buddha. Buddha give this teaching on supporting factors for training the mind. And Buddha say that just because you sit down to meditate doesn't mean that our mind will settle down, mind will, to stay focused. Because there's this mental process is a complicated process. We have to approach it gradually. We have to approach it with different ways. So Buddha taught him, without developing supporting factors for meditation, you cannot meditate. So in that sutta, Buddha gave supporting factors that will help as a meditation. So meditation is not done isolatedly. Meditation is not done as an isolated practice. It is done together with other practices. And of course, we know that in the Noble Eightfold Path, and all the items support right mindfulness and right concentration. And similar to that, and in this sutta, Buddha gave interesting few factors that will support our meditation. And Buddha said that you have to have a spiritual friendship. That means you have to have spiritual teachers, teachers who can guide you, and also co-practitioners who will inspire you. So you have to have that kind of communal support for your meditation to be successful. Venerable Meghi left the Buddha also and then want to meditate by himself. But Buddha is saying that without having a spiritual friendship, without having that kind of guidance and encouragement and support, you cannot meditate by yourself. So spiritual friendship is important. So this is how we straighten our mind. This is how we guard our mind, which is difficult to guard. First, we have to have good friends, good spiritual friends. We have to be around good teachers. We have to be around good, other practitioners. We have to have that communal support. That's the first factor. The second one is called moral virtues. You have to have your sila perfect. We have to observe and follow the sila. Although we haven't overcome our urges to do unwholesome things, but we can observe the precept as a training rules. So if our precepts are unbroken, and it gives you a sense of confidence, and also it makes life a simple for us to meditate. So definitely Sila is helping us to meditate. And then Buddha talks about our speech, Dhamma-centered talk. The what we speak throughout the day is influencing our quality of meditation. And so that is why usually during our meditation retreats, we try to maintain noble silence, because whatever we talk will echo in our mind, and it will influence our meditation. But in our normal life, we should talk. We should talk with each other. But Buddha said that our normal speech has to be Dhamma centered. That means we should not unnecessarily speak about things that will arouse craving and lust in us. We shouldn't talk about things that will arouse anger in us. And we should not talk about that will waste our time. So, and in our normal life, we have to manage our speech and try to speak mindfully, and try to speak about topics that are related to the Dhamma, that is related to our wholesome practice, and not necessarily talk about things that will agitate our mind. So Dhamma-centered talk. And then, of course, two other factors called virya and panya. And it's exertion. We have to develop our inner energy to go beyond our defilements. Our defilements, our maybe like anger or jealousy, or those things can arise very strongly, but we have to have an inner effort to overcome them, and we have to have a constant effort to overcome them. And also development of discernment or contemplation on impermanence, having some Dhamma knowledge, and having some reflections on the teachings of the Buddha, and contemplating on the impermanence of ordinary day-to-day life, in natural phenomena, in our own experiences, how everything is arising and passing away. And having that kind of conceptual understanding is also helpful for our deeper meditation. So Buddha talked about the supporting factors that will help us to train our mind. So I hope that most of you are developing, having these supporting factors. And then Buddha talk about, and then we can talk about, and after the Buddha gave these teachings, the Venerable Meghi was so humble and educated, accepted the teaching of the Buddha, and didn't leave the Buddha, and was around the Buddha. And then, of course, he continued his meditation with these supporting factors. This is an interesting, lesson for us, right? And before I move to the next section, I would like to, ask, anyone has any questions or anything that you like to like more explanation? Anyone has any question or sharing up to this point? Okay, and if you have any questions or sharing, you can also put in the chat box too. Anyone has any question? Please raise your hand if you would like to ask anything. Okay, if not, let's move. And then let's talk about how we can train or tame our unsteady mind. That will be the important thing, right? And for what are the techniques we can use? Of course, those supporting factors has to be present in our life. And those things, this is more like a preparation for training the mind. We have to have enough tools with us, enough ground. So we have to develop those supporting factors. Then we can use these specific techniques to train this unsteady fickle mind. The first thing we had to do is to accept the nature of the mind. Right now, we are learning about the mind. We are learning about the monkey mind. We are learning about this natural, normal, ordinary nature of the mind. The first thing is to accept it, rather than fighting with the mind. I think it's not possible for us to train a mind by fighting with it. And even in meditation, we don't want to fight with our mind. We don't want to fight with our emotions. First thing is to understand this is how the ordinary nature of the mind, and this is how the vast majority of the people live their life, and this is kind of ordinary. But of course, we don't have to stay ordinary level. We can come or transcend that ordinary level. First thing is to accept it and use one's own this unsteady nature, use of one's own experiences to understand the nature of human mind. And instead of blaming ourselves, instead of feeling guilty, we just try to use our own unsteady prickle mind to understand the nature of the mind. So first thing is to accept it, and we can look at our past experiences and learn about our patterns of reaction. You can think about throughout the day, maybe throughout the week, how our mind was worrying about so many things. Maybe beginning of the week we worry about many things, but right when we think about now, those things do not matter anymore. And you can think about how we start thinking about one thing and then end up think about complete something else. We don't notice it while it's happening, but we can think about it later. So we can explore our own mind to see how this mind is operating, how it is really moving from one thing to the other, one thing to the other. And then by doing that, we rather than we just accept it and then use our own own experiences to learn about the mind, and not only about our own mind but also the mind of other people. And when you learn how our mind was moving from one thing to the other and it's not settling most of the time, it keeps worrying about things, when you learn about it, it can help us to understand other people's mind too. So we can develop kind of empathy, and we can develop understanding of others. Rather than blaming them, rather than judging them, we can also develop more understanding and empathy towards others. So first technique is to accept. Accept the ordinary nature of the mind, but don't think that don't be contented with that. First is to accept and not to really judge, to accept it. But at the same time, we have to have a determination to go beyond this ordinary nature of the mind. Because as human beings, we have this capacity to go beyond our ordinary nature of the mind. And also because we have the teachings of the Buddha available to us. And this is the best chance for us to come out of this ordinary nature of the mind. So after accepting it, then we have to have a determination to go beyond it. Because the ordinary nature of the mind, although it is common for everyone, it is not bringing peace, happiness, and joy to us. Therefore, if you are interested in peace, interested in joy, and we have to gradually train it. So make a determination to go beyond that, ordinary nature of the mind. We can laugh about our own mind, how our mind, attaches to certain things, how our mind is creating stories, and we can, reflect our own past experiences, and we can laugh about it. And that's kind of accepting the nature of the mind. But then make a determination to change and move forward. So the next techniques we can use is start observing our own mind. That means, like observing the current state of the mind. You can ask this question. I mean, this observing our own mind is a very important step in our training the mind, because most of the time we don't observe our mind. We only observe our sensory objects. We observe what is around us. We observe, what we hear, smell, taste. Our attention is always outward. But we can also turn our attention inward and start observing our mind. So we can ask this question from time to time in your daily life. If you can ask, what is in my mind now? What I am thinking? If we can ask this question when you are driving, if you can ask this question when you are like daydreaming, or like from time to time, at least few times a day, we have to ask this question: what is in my mind? What I'm thinking right now? And let's just have that self-observation awareness. Then we'll be able to catch, kinds of things that we worry about, and we can ask, is it valid? Is it really important? We can ask that question. And then and whenever we are agitated, and we can catch ourselves. Whenever we are distracted, we can catch ourselves. When we develop this habit of asking this question, what is in my mind, what I am thinking, and then we can catch ourselves of all different states of the mind. And so that catching ourselves of unnecessary thinking, catching ourselves of being distracted is such an insightful moment, such a beautiful moment. We can do that if we develop this habit of asking this question. I have caught myself of thinking of things that are not suitable to think, or not important, or unnecessary. When you realize that, oh, interesting, I'm thinking about this thing that happened a long time ago, is it really important? I catch myself, and then when I catch myself of my unnecessary thoughts, I can let go easily. So the observing the mind is the beginning of transforming it. So without observing, you cannot transform it. So first things to observe and catch ourselves. An interesting thing about observation is that whenever we observe our thoughts and emotions, whenever we become aware, oh, I'm thinking about this now, or whenever we are aware, oh, I'm angry now, or I'm frustrated now, whenever you become aware of it, that whole state, that mental state cannot grow. And whenever we are watching our anger cannot grow. Whenever we observing it, it cannot grow. It doesn't have any food to grow. So therefore, it cannot grow. So that is why it's so important. So when we keep observing our mind, what will happen? We will weaken our old patterns of the mind, our patterns, different patterns of thinking, and all habitual patterns will be weakened as a result of our observation. That is number 2. And this is exactly what we find in the Satipatthana Sutta. In the Satipatthana Sutta, when in the section on contemplation of mind, or Cittanupassana, and it is there are 16 possible states of the mind are given there. When we keep observing our mind, we will be able to catch ourselves, and we will be able to observe 16 states of the mind. But actually, in our ordinary life, we will be only observing 8 states of the mind, because the first 8 states of the no, maybe not 8, maybe 10, because the other states of the mind, the last states of the mind are states that we develop when we are in deeper meditation. So These are the 16 states of the mind. You just can take a moment to read. And the first states of the mind are ordinary, normal states of the mind, and latter towards the latter part of the list, we find minds that are related to deeper meditation and development. So when we do that observation of our mind in our ordinary day-to-day life, we are also partly doing kind of Cittanupassana, but not in a strict way, but maybe more simple way of doing Cittanupassana. So we have to have that kind of habit of observing our mind. And so in the Satipatthana Sutta, this is how it is explained. When the mind is with lust, he discerns that the mind is with lust. When the mind is without lust, it discerns that the mind is without lust. When mind is with anger, he discerns that the mind is with anger. When the mind is without anger, he discerns that mind is without anger. In that technique, you don't try to, push away the lust. You don't try to push away anger. You just simply become aware. You discern the anger. You discern the anger, and maybe you can also make a deeper contemplation how this anger arose in the first place. But in that technique, it is not given like you should try to subdue anger at first. First, we simply have to observe it and discern it, and very observation and discernment can help us to at least not to grow anger or any other unwholesome emotion more further. It will, that very discernment, very observation will stop the mental state right there, and then gradually we can do something about it. But first we need to observe it. And then, of course, the third technique that will help us to straighten our mind is formal meditation. As we know that we all, you may all have done formal meditation, I think, and also you have attended meditation retreats. So that is definitely the key method. But the two other is actually that I gave you as what we can do in our normal day-to-day life. But the formal meditation is the key, and that is exactly how we train our mind. That is the key method. And it's basically learning to focus our mind on a selected object or theme. Selected object or a theme. We can use a particular object or a theme. For example, we can focus our mind on loving kindness as a theme. We can also focus our mind on the virtues of the Buddha as a theme. Or we can also focus our mind on an object like breath. Or we can also focus our mind on an object like some visual object like flame. So and selecting an object and then bringing our mind back to that object again and again, and then gradually training it to stay focused. So gradually training it to settle on the object. That is formal meditation that we do in our life. But I think in our day-to-day life, I think we can also do this formal meditation as a daily practice. Definitely, we can start our day with some form of chanting and short meditation every day. And we can end the day also with some form of chanting and meditation. And if you have that kind of daily practice, that will definitely straighten our mind, just like that arrow maker is straightening the arrow. Gradually we'll be straightening our mind if we have that daily practice of meditation, at least short meditation. I think and even for example, we can use our for example, breathing, virtues of the Buddha. It would be a nice meditation for us to do. We remember the 9 virtues we find in the Itipiso Gatha, and then we can contemplate from quality 1 all the way to 9, and gradually training our mind to think about these 9 virtues. We start with Arahant, and then we focus on the complete purity of the mind of the Buddha. And then we move to Samma Sambuddho, the fully awakened, enlightened nature of the Buddha. And then we can move to Vijja Charana Sampanno. He's endowed with special knowledges and and particular type of behaviors. And then, so in that way, we can contemplate from Arahang all the way to Bhagava. And then if you want, we can also contemplate backward from Bhagava to Buddha to Sattadeva Manusanam to Anuttaro Purusadhamma Sarati and so on and so forth. We can go back and come back. And so if we can do such a round forward and backward, and that's already a training of the mind to stay focused. That's something we can do. Or we can also definitely do a breathing meditation. At least take a mindful 10 breaths, as a part of our daily practice. Or if you have time, if you have attended retreats and learn more techniques of meditation and doing that meditation daily, for longer period of time, that will be definitely the way to train the mind. But I will also give you another technique, what we call mindful walking. And of course, we know we have walking meditation, but we can also use our normal day-to-day walking occasions to develop our mindfulness and as a way to tame and straighten our mind. That means you have normal occasions of regular routine occasions of walking, right? We have to park your car and then you have to walk to the building. Or maybe you may have a habit of doing your evening walk. I mean, most of the time, we have to walk. Like even in our workplace, we have to work. So we can use this routine occasions of walking, and then we can pay close attention to the sensation of the feet while you are walking, rather than being lost in the thoughts and letting the mind to keep thinking about that thing or this thing, and thinking about that person or this person, that issue, this issue, not letting the mind run all over the place like a monkey. We can invite our mind to observe the feet and feel the touch sensation and the relaxation of the feet, noticing the sensation of the feet. Like when we are walking, how the pressing sensation when we are touching the foot, and relaxing sensation when we are lifting the foot. And then also interestingly, when we walk, the weight of the body is shifting from one foot to the other. It's a very delicate process, a very intricate process, actually, balancing the weight of the body to the both feet. So we can pay attention to those sensations and then try to feel the feet until we reach the destination, the building. So it will be a very short distance of walking, but if you can do it, simply paying attention to the foot, you don't have to close your eyes to do that. You can simply keep walking normally and looking front, but your attention is on the foot. So we feel sensation in the feet. So that will be a good day-to-day exercise we can do as a way of training our mind, as a way of helping our mind to stay focused and not run around all over the place. So it's a way to connect our body and mind, because we are paying attention to our feet, we are with our body, we are bringing our mind to the body. Otherwise, the mind will be in the whole imagined reality. So we can bring it to the body and be with the body. It's also a way to connect us to the earth, because when you are walking, we are paying attention to the feet and pressing sensation. We are actually touching the earth. We feel we are touching the earth. We feel connected to the earth, and it's so important to feel that. So we feel our interconnection with the environment. So so we can, by doing this, actually, we can stay in the present moment and without being lost in the thoughts. And that's important techniques to tame or straighten our, fickle or unsteady mind. Okay, so I have given you enough techniques now. I think now it is time for us to have some discussion. I would like to invite you to ask any questions or any more clarifications you need. Okay, there's one question in the chat box. It's asking about in the 16 states of the mind given in the Satipatthana. So there's one couple called surpassable mind versus unsurpassable mind. That's called Uttariya mind and Anuttariya mind. So, surpassable mind and unsurpassable mind means actually, so this is about unsurpassable mind means actual developed state of the mind. Surpassable mind means not developed state of the mind. This is related to how we can observe someone else's mind. For example, when we develop deeper meditation, and there is one psychic ability one will develop to read others' mind. Right. So when someone develops such a mind, and he can read others' mind, but no ordinary minds, but not the minds that are already developed also. So in that sense, surpassable mind means the minds that can be read by other developed enlightened, other developed meditators. So they can surpass our mind, they can observe our mind, they can notice it. Unsurpassable mind means that you have developed your mind also. It is very difficult for other person to observe it. So it's in simple sense, it could be developed mind and undeveloped mind, but it's about how other people, other advanced meditators can observe your mind and cannot observe your mind. Okay, and then another question is about what about narrowed mind and expanded mind? Yes, actually that term is mahaggata and amahaggata. Mahaggata is actually expanded mind. It really Buddha said that you can actually expand your mind. The way to expand our mind is to practice what we call Brahma Viharas. And Brahma Viharas are given as expanding the mind. That means, of course, the loving kindness, metta, and then, karuna, compassion, and then mudita, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. Those qualities are called, immeasurable qualities. There's no limit to these, qualities. We can keep, developing our loving kindness without limit, and, compassion and sympathetic joy without limit. So when someone develop loving kindness, and what truly happening is that his mind become kind of expanded in a way that means it's called Mahagata. It's so expansive, and even Buddha said that even your bad karma that you may have done will dissolve as a result of that expansion of the mind. So narrow mind means very self-centered, very ego-centered, and very narrow mind means you don't have that expansion with loving kindness and compassion. So, so that is what we mean by Mahagata and Amahagata. When you are too much self-centered, too much self-focused is narrow. When you are opening yourself and then developing this loving kindness, it is expanded. And then we have another question. Can we apply Yoniso Manasikara to train our mind? This is a very, very important question. Definitely, Yoniso Manasikara is one of the key techniques given by the Buddha. Usually we translate it as wise reflection, or there are a number of ways to translate that. I think definitely the kind of techniques that I gave you is part of this Yoniso Manasikara. But what we mean by Yoniso Manasikara is actually whenever we see or smell, or whenever we encounter anything in our life, we normally, automatically, and that's the way how we think about it. And we very quickly, we interpret it, we try to we make sense of it by using our previous concepts. But the person who's practicing Yoniso Manasikara and use the mindfulness and then analyze and then contemplate and reflect exactly how that experience occurred in our mind, rather than being deluded or being fooled by, whatever appearing, we kind of, go back to it and analyze it. For example, if you see any attractive thing, for example, very attractive, beautiful, attractive thing, and so and that appears very attractive to us, and then we think about it, we want to have it, we want to go there, and that's normally how we think. But person who's practicing Yoniso Manasikara, take a moment and observe that feeling of attractiveness and notice it, and then analyze exactly how this attractiveness arises in my mind. Because any attractiveness or any distaste, also any attractiveness, is not really in the object, it is how we think about it. Right? So in the Yoniso Manasakara, you pay attention to the very process of your thinking, and then you reanalyze exactly how I find it attractive. What are my previous memories that are connecting to make it attractive? And I only, with our senses, we only can catch very rudimentary initial data, and we can only see color and shapes. But the whole idea of attractiveness comes as a result of my thinking about it and my bringing other previous concepts and memories to it. So in Yoniso Manasakara, you kind of reanalyze it, and that's an interesting technique. And Buddha has recommended that, and Buddha said that the Yoniso Manasikara is the beginning point of developing wisdom. Yeah. So it's like we call wise reflection. We can do that reflection of our previous experience. Let's say there was one moment that you feel very angry, and you can go back to that experience and analyze exactly how that anger arose in us, and how any, the thought process that bring about this anger. They actually analyzing the thought process is what you call Yoniso Manasikara. Sometimes we say that contempt, reflection by the way of origin, because Yoniso means by way of origin. Manasikara is reflection of thinking. So Yoniso Manasikara is contemplating by the way of origin. That means you analyze the thought process, exactly how it arises. So that is the important technique. Definitely, that's a way to train the mind. Okay, there's another question. A fickle mind is like a monkey mind. So the steady, not fickle mind, is like a, oh, that's a that's an interesting simile. I think we also find similes to explain the steady mind. Usually, the one common simile we find is like the forest. Sorry, the pool in the deep forest, like a very calm, settled pool in a deep forest. So the steady mind will be like a forest pool. And sometimes it's also explain the bottom of the ocean, because the very bottom of the ocean is very steady, calm. So those are the similes. So the fickle mind is like a monkey mind, the steady, settled mind like a forest pool or deep ocean. Okay. Any other questions? Can lost mind and confused mind still be trained? I think that's the whole point, no, okay, those, I think, like those dementia patients. Okay, I think what those patients experience is not the lost or confused mind, because that is something that we experience in our normal life. I think with dementia patients, I think they are kind of subject to, what is happening in their brain. The interesting thing about our mind is actually all our mental processes, what we call nama, always has to depend on the organism. And so in Buddhist explanation, mind cannot exist by itself. Mind is not an entity that can exist by itself. Mind always has to have a support of a rupa, support of what you call vatu rupa, some base. So then only mind can function, because the Buddhist explanation, the mind is not like a soul kind of thing. It's a continuous mental process, but it needs a lot of other supporting factors to operate. One is to have an organism. So only with the support of an organism, mind will function. Maybe that organism can be very subtle or maybe very rough, like, human beings. So what is happening in the dementia patient is that support, the organic support over that Vattu Rupa, that is kind of, damaged. That is not um, intact. Therefore, the nama, the mental process cannot have a proper support for it to function. And therefore, it will be really difficult for that kind of patient to train the mind. But I think what we have to aim is that before we get into that state and train our mind, because in that state we'll be repeating our old patterns, and those patients will repeat their all thoughts, all memories, and all patterns how they used to live their life. And if you train your mind in a wholesome way, and even you happen to get that state, you'll be staying in a wholesome place, because that will be the repetitive thoughts that will occur in your mind will be wholesome ones. So that should be our goal, because we cannot really control our physical body, and it just it follows its own rules and all impermanence, and also its all genetic makeup. We can only train our mental part, and if we have a good training beforehand in our life, even though we happen to have dementia, and we'll be still okay. We'll be in a wholesome state, like in a Brahma world. Is it possible for those with psychotic or schizophrenia mind be tamed? No, I think when our mind is in that kind of state, I think we need to first get more professional help before we really start meditating or doing other training. Because psychotic states and schizophrenia states are extreme states of the mind. So and for such states, we need to bring our mind to ordinary level before we meditate. So therefore, I think we should really receive more professional help, more therapy, and more professional help before we meditate. So we can only train once we bring our mind to ordinary level, because the training of the mind is going beyond the ordinary level. First, we need to bring it to ordinary level. So we need to have medical support to develop that. How is clear comprehension different from yoniso manasikara? Okay, this is a good question actually. The sati sampajanya is usually translated as clear comprehension. But if you go to the Satipatthana Sutta and read the section on sati sampajanya, you will see the explanation is like this. And sati sampajanya means, according to Satipatthana Sutta, is doing your daily activities, routine normal activities very mindfully. For example, it says that when you walk, know that you are walking. When you raise your hands, know that you are raising your hands. And when you are eating, knows that you are eating. When you are drinking, knows that you are drinking. So to maintain constant mindfulness throughout your daily activities is what is meant by sati sampajanya, according to Satipatthana Sutta. Somehow it has been translated as clear comprehension. But sampajanya there means actually the mindfulness, because we know that term sati is not really mindfulness. Sati is more like remembering, and sampajanya would be like doing it mindfully. So therefore, if you read this section on sampajanya in the Satipatthana Sutta, the idea we get is that it's actually sampajanya means doing everyday activity with attention, with awareness, with mindfulness. And so it's yoniso manasikara is different. Yoniso manasikara is actually using our cognitive ability to reinterpret or reanalyze our experiences. So yoniso manasikara requires more purposeful contemplation, purposeful reflection, purposeful analysis. But sampajanya is observing the things as they're happening. Bhante, please explain the difference between mano, chitta, and vijnana. Okay. Okay, there are different interpretations of these states, but if you get the meaning from how these three terms are occurring in the suttas, and this is what we get. Vijnana is given as the initial stage of our experience. Vijnana is always related to our sensory organs. Although the term vijnana is given, there is always either eye vijnana, or the chakku vijnana, or sota vijnana, or ghana vijnana. Is a consciousness or vijnana always arises with regard to a sense organ. That means we become aware of that object. Whenever any visual object touches our eye, we become conscious of it. So we become eye consciousness. Whenever sound touches our eardrum, when we become conscious of that sound, we call ear consciousness. So the consciousness is the initial stage of becoming conscious of surrounding environment. That is consciousness or vijnana. And then mano is given as one of the six senses. In Buddhism, we have five common senses, and mano as the sixth sense. So we have ear, nose, tongue, the five senses, and mano also as another sensory organ or ayatana. So that means actually mano means actually how our mind operates as a sensory organ, and also how our mental process operates to interpret the sensory data we get from five normal senses. So mano do two functions. One is to operate as a sensory organ. That means whenever we don't have any sensory inputs coming to our senses, there's nothing to see, nothing to smell, but our mind itself can pop up, can bring out a memory of a previous experience or the image, and then it starts a sensory process. So although our five senses are kind of not active, our mind can individually also bring out a memory or an image and can start, sensory process. So that is one function of the mind, or what you call mano. The second function of the mano is that whenever we see anything or hear anything, smell anything, our sense consciousness can only give us very, very preliminary, kind of, experience. And then the interpreting that initial experience, conscious experience, interpreting it and bringing the previous memories and try to use sanya and and concepts. That whole cognitive function of interpreting the sensory data is called mano. So mano is more like a cognitive process in that sense, interpreting the initial sensory data. And that is how the mano has been used in the suttas. And then chitta, as I mentioned, is a more wider term that even because when you say mano, it doesn't involve emotions. It simply refers to the cognitive process of interpreting the sensory data. But then when it comes to chitta, it means the whole mental process and mainly the emotional part of it. And whenever we have like more reaction to sensory data. So chitta is a more encompassing term to refer to the whole mental process, including emotional states. There's another question. Could we say that Buddhism focuses most on cultivation of mind compared to other religions? Could be true. Yes, I think the focus of Buddhism is on actually cultivation of the mind. Yeah, and there are also emphasis on creating a harmonious society. I think we can say yes, Buddhism has priority to train our mind. And if you remember that a well-known verse that gives a summary of the teachings of the Buddha, we say Sabba Papasa Akaranam. Can anyone remember that verse? Sabba papa sakarana. Or anyone remember that verse? Sabba papa
Bhante, ku
sakarana.
salasa upasampada. Sacita pariyuda panang etang budanang sasanang.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Can anyone give me the meaning of that verse?
Avoid evil, do good. This is a teaching of the Buddha. Purify the mind.
Yes. Can anyone give another translation? Yeah. I think, yeah, three things, to avoid misdeeds, to avoid abandon misdeeds, let's say evil deeds, and then kusala sopasampada, cultivate good deeds, and then sachit paryodapana, purify one's own mind, etang buddhana sasanam. These are the teachings of the Buddhas, all the Buddhas. So there are three things Buddhas have asked us to do. One is avoid evil, do good. But then the third one, purify one's mind. That is more unique to Buddhism, because all the religions and philosophies, they really encourage people to avoid bad and do not do bad things and do good things, and that's the kind of common nature of all religious tradition, encouraging people to avoid bad and do good. But I think the third one, why people do bad. Why people are prone to do bad things because of the defilements. So therefore, the third one, and purify one's mind, is the third thing that, in the summary of the Buddha's teaching. So I think that is quite unique to Buddhism. So in that sense, we can say yes, Buddhism pay more attention. Buddhism focus on cultivation of the mind. Okay. Okay, sister, I think, do we have any more questions? Okay, sister, then can we conclude then? Okay. I don't find any questions in the chat box. I hope that you're all clear about this, monkey mind that you all have. So let's first be friendly with the monkey mind. Okay, that is the first thing you have to do. Don't blame it. Don't, be upset with this. Be friendly with it, and then just try to understand its pattern, its nature. Then we have to develop this supporting, factors to develop our mind, have good, spiritual friendship, and having our seal, our moral precept perfect, and having that background, and then we can use those techniques that I shared with you. So I think so I would like to maybe do one exercise before we conclude, just to help you know how you can do like a daily practice to develop strengthen this mind. And most of you may be doing breathing meditation. And if you don't have much time to do breathing meditation, at least if you can take 10 mindful breaths a day, that itself is a great exercise. But even taking 10 mindful breaths without interruption is very difficult. It's very difficult. Our mind will find something to think about. So I would like to do exercise with you. Can you all try to take 10 mindful breaths? Okay. So one way to do all the way to 10 is to actually take first three breaths, purposefully long breaths, and then holding the breath in the middle and releasing it. If you do it for the first three breaths, we have a higher chance of taking the next 7 breaths mindfully. Okay, so we'll start our first 3 breaths, purposefully lengthening it and holding it for a moment and releasing it very gently. And do that first 3 breaths in that way, and we go to our normal breath, and then try to stay mindful for the next 7 breaths. Okay, so I'm going to guide you. Let's all try to do it and try to make your upper body a little bit upright to do this exercise and this and you can, I hope that, when you learn it, you can do it every day. Let us now take a nice, deep, long in-breath. Make it gentle. Don't be rushed. Take a long, deep in-breath. Fill your lungs with fresh air. Let's hold that breath for a moment, letting all the oxygen to be absorbed to our blood. Let us now release that breath very slowly, gently, little by little, little by little. Once all the air is out, feel that gap, and we take our next deep in-breath slowly, but taking a long, deep in-breath. Hold that breath for a moment, allowing all the oxygens to be absorbed to our blood, and releasing that breath very slowly, little by little, gently relaxing the whole body. Let's take another long, deep in-breath slowly, gently, feeling the changes of the body with that long breath. Hold it for a moment. And release it gently, little by little, relaxing, releasing. Now we will take a normal breath. That will be your fourth breath. Just let it come as naturally as possible. You can initiate the breath and no need to hold the breath, and release it gently, slowly. That will be 4. When you are ready, allow the next breath to come in. Feel it. And let it go out gently, releasing. 5. Take the next in-breath too, gently. Allow it to happen naturally. You initiate, then rest is normal. And release it slowly. That is 6. Now 3 more breaths to go, and do it by yourself. Feeling it in our lungs, chest, nostrils. When you reach your 10th breath, you can gently come out of the meditation. Okay, this is something you can do every day. Take first 3 breaths, long breaths, hold in the breath. That will establish the awareness very clearly. And then do the 7, rest mindfully. And these are for just the beginners. If you are really seasoned, advanced meditator, you can do your own way you have been doing. But I will encourage you to take 10 mindful breaths. That will be the way to straighten our mind. Okay, okay, sister, can we share the merits?
Yes, thank you, Bhante, for for your time today, for the guidance and the blessing. Yeah, maybe have Bhante to guide us for the meditation now.
Yeah, you're most welcome, and let us now share the merits, by studying these teachings of the Buddha and contemplating and reflecting on the wonderful teachings of the Buddha. We have generated, so much good energy, wholesome energy, good karma, good merits in our heart. Let us now share these merits with everyone else First of all, record our mind, our ancestors, our departed family members, parents, grandparents. May they all share these good merits. May they be benefited from these merits. May they be well and happy wherever they may be. May they also have a chance to learn the Dhamma, practice the Dhamma, and ultimately attain the sublime bliss of Nibbana. Idang mi ñātinang hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. Idang mi ñātinang hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. Idang mi ñātinang hotu sukita huntu ñātayo. Let us also share these merits with all other beings. If there's any being in this world who would like to share this merit, may he or she do so. May all people and all beings around the world share these merits. May they also have a chance to listen to the sublime teachings of the Buddha. May they also be able to understand the ordinary nature of the mind. May they all be able to transcend and develop their minds to benefit themselves and many others. May all beings share our merits. May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. Ittavata ca amhi sambhatam punya sampadam sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata ca amhi sambhatam punya sampadam sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ittavata ca amhi sambhatam punya sampadam sabbe sattha anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. It was so nice to see you all. I didn't get a chance to to see all of my Malaysian friends, and there are other friends who are joining from the US also. But it's so nice to see you all. I'm so glad that you are doing well, and I really want to wish you all the best. May you all receive the blessings of the Buddha, and may you be blessed with good health. May you be blessed with more opportunity to practice the Dhamma, and may you all have a very, very happy time, and may you all be able to conclude the rain retreat beautifully and join many robe offering ceremonies. May you all be well, happy, and peaceful. Sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay.
You.
Thank you, Bhante.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, Bhante.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Bhante.
Oh, thank you, Anand. Nice to have you. So, are you? How was your day? Did you go to school today?
Yes, I did. Of course I did.
Say again.
Yes, I did. I did go to school.
Okay. So, do you also have a monkey mind?
Yes.
Kinda.
Kind of, right. Yeah. When I talk about this monkey mind, one of my friends told me, Bhante, my mind is not like a normal monkey. My mind is like a monkey beaten by a scorpion. Like running around. Yeah. So,
Wait, can I ask you a question?
yes, you can. Yes.
Why is our mind inside the brain like a monkey? I knew
Say
that.
again. Why? Can you ask it again? Why?
No, I cannot
Can
hear
you
you.
ask it again?
I said, why in our brain, inside the brain, like a monkey?
Oh, you mean why our brain is like monkey?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. I think, what we call mind is not only the brain. Brain is part of the mind, but mind is bigger than brain. I think the brain is like a monkey because the mind is bigger than the brain, but brain is part of the mind. Mind is bigger. And heart is also part of the mind. Brain is also the part of the mind. All our nervous system is also the part of the mind. Mind is bigger, but brain is only part of the mind.
What about the
But
body?
your question, why the mind is like a monkey?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that is how we train. I mean, that is how we have behaved in many, many lifetimes. Because we have not tamed it. So our mind is very good at making habits. So it has already developed habits to be like a monkey. Is it clear?
Very clear.
You mean, so your question is why our mind, or let's say why our brain is always like a monkey, right? That's your question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why it is not like a forest pool, right? Why it is like a monkey? Yeah, because that is how we have condition. That is how we have, that is how we have trained our mind without our knowing. Remember, like, even when every one of us, like when we were all like you, when we small children, we also like to think about so many things. And so when we do it many times, it become a normal part of our mind. Because previously we have trained our mind, not really purposely trained, but we have conditioned our mind like a monkey. Now it is like a monkey. Now we have to retrain it. I'm so glad that you have started training your mind at this age. Do you also like watch your breath?
I
Do you
cannot see
also
your
chant?
face. I
Do
can't
you
see your
also
face.
chant? Do you also chant?
Yes.
Yes. So if you do it at this age, it will not be like a monkey.
Oh, okay, 10.
Okay. So I hope that your mind will be like a very, very tamed monkey, not like a wild monkey.
Okay.
Tamed monkey, yeah.
I also. Good morning.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, Anand, I wish you a very good night's sleep today. Okay, before you go to sleep, remember to take 10 breaths, 10 mindful breaths. Then you'll be sleep very, very well. Your mind will be like a forest pool. You will not have nightmares.
You mean my mom?
My mind,
Yes?
your
Oh,
mind.
yeah. To you also.
You mean my
Asking-
mom? This is my godmother, okay?
Yes, yes. Okay, I know that. So she can do that too, but I'm asking you, so after a while you will go to bed, right?
Yes or no?
Yes.
Or are you going to watch video games after this?
No. Oh,
No.
I am very sleepy right now.
Okay, yeah, very good. You shouldn't do it, in the night. It's not good for our eyes, not good for our sleep. So right now when you go to bed, when you lie down on your bed, you pay attention to your breath and try to take 10 breaths, 10 mindful breaths. And take a deep, long breath and release it. And then you will have a very nice, beautiful sleep. You will not wake up in the middle of the night, and you will have a straight sleep all the way to the morning. When you wake up in the morning, you will feel very fresh.
Okay. Thank you for
Okay.
the advice.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, remember to take 10 breaths. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you for the advice.
Welcome.
I'm gonna
Thank
sleep now.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Yeah, look forward to
Thank you,
see you.
Bhante. Have a good day.
Welcome. Thank you,
Take
sister.
care.